Drivers, start your engines!
Hit the pace car! What for? Because you hit every other damn thing out there, I want you to be perfect!
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. It's him, but he talks to me.
Well, I wanna be a race car driver, pretty girls eating from my hand, yeah. Wanna live a life of fun and danger, no sweating working for the man, alright.
Hey, race fans, welcome to the Hoobazoo Radio Network, and welcome to the Drafting the Circuits program. My name is Frank Santoroski. I'll be your host for the next hour as we talk about this past weekend in racing and preview next week. Joining me in the studio, I have Richard Youden and Luis Torres. Guys, how we doing?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
Wonderful.
It's been going quite decent. Looking forward for this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend's going to be a good one. Yep, I know you're packing your bags to head to Long Beach for the IndyCar season finale. In the meantime, we had the penultimate race held at Laguna Seca. It was once again Colton Herta, who won there last year, put on a rather dominant performance this year. He was, started from the front, was largely unchallenged most of the day, other than from his own teammate on lap 2, Alexander Rossi, trying to display once again how at times he is his own worst enemy. You know, this is Rossi coming off of a podium at Portland, comes in here with a great qualifying effort at Laguna Seca and literally throws it away in the opening laps where he really could have had a shot at a win. And Pro Rossi hadn't had a win in a couple of years. And it just, things just go from bad to worse for Rossi. So before we get into talk about all the other details of the race here, Luis, what were your thoughts on the opening laps there and Rossi taking himself out, nearly taking Herta out?
Yeah, it seems like nothing can go right. It seems like something, everything's going to be great for Rossi. He might be a contender for Laguna Seca. Maybe this could be the season ending that he's been looking for. He's just got his first podium, and then on lap 2, he lost control and put him out of contention for the win. He ended up, I think if memory serves correctly, second to last car running or the last car running afterwards. It's like nothing can go right. Now it's been since Road America 2019 that he won. And it's just been a difficult season for him that he only got one more race left.
Difficult couple of seasons for him. Yeah. I know he had a little bit of a renaissance last year towards the end of the season and got a podium, but it's been a pretty long.
Could have been a contention for St. Pete, but crashed.
Yeah, and here's a guy who's been touted as a championship contender coming into the season for the last since 2017, and he's just never been able to capitalize on that. He's he lost one to was it Dixon?
Yep, after the contact with Marco Andretti Sonoma, that NBC missed because they jumped in too late because of the race. The Cup race in Vegas lasted too long, and they were under red at that.
So Rossi really needs to find something to change his fortunes, and it just. But again, this one is all on him, 100% on him being too aggressive too early in the race. And I understand there's an urgency on his part to win, but you don't win the race on lap 2.
No, you don't. You got to play it methodically. Somebody that actually did, we'll discuss about later, played it methodically, just a little too late, and a little bit of an episode that particular driver happened. We'll discuss about that guy later. But for Rossi, just one more race. It could have come in an absolute perfect time. There's one race he's glad it's on the calendar. That wasn't the year before. Is definitely the finale at Long Beach, which he's won the last 2 races.
Sure, yeah. Long Beach is definitely, he's got that circle on his calendar, and we'll talk more in depth about Long Beach a little later in the show. But anyway, so rounding out the podium at Sonoma, we had Alex Palou.
Sonoma, you mean Laguna?
Laguna. Sega. Yeah. Excuse me. So yeah, Alex Palou finished second, which really good points day for him. Joseph Newgarden struggled started 17th. I believe he finished 7th, but he pretty much put himself out of points contention. Pato O'Ward had a reasonably okay day, but he's still going into the finale some 35 points shy of Palou's lead, and
He
then
lost 10 points.
Yep.
He entered Laguna 25 behind. Now he's 35 behind. Like, Pato had a good result, but it was not what he needed in the championship trail because Alex still beat him and gained points.
Yeah, he really needed to finish ahead of Alex, but he's still mathematically live going into the finale. And then third on the podium was Romain Grosjean, right?
Yep.
Grosjean,
that guy I was telling you about.
Exactly. Yeah, he started rather deep in the field, but it turns out this race course is really to his liking, much like the road course at Indianapolis, where he scored 2 podiums earlier in the year at 2 different places. But he really enjoyed himself here, and he was he was aggressive. He was fun to watch. He almost got in a little trouble. He almost pulled a Zanardi move in the corkscrew, but that dude got out of the car, and he was all smiles, and the fans were all cheering for him. I mean, just really kind of a feel-good story all around for Grosjean. And again, this guy just continues to take to IndyCar racing like a duck to water. He's been up and down a bit, but when he finds the courses that really kind of suit him, he's just, he's fun to watch. This guy's hungry for a win. I know he's ready for an IndyCar win. I was kind of looking up to see when the last time Grosjean actually won a race, and it's been more than a decade. I think it was 2010 or maybe 2011.
GP2, wasn't it?
When he won the world championship that year.
Yeah, GP2, and he was running GP2 Asia, and then I think he won it. Yeah, so it's been a minute since he's been able to capture a race win, and I can see how hungry he is. I see how much he enjoys the series. The guy is really fun to watch, and every weekend, seemingly, his fan base in America grows. So
for sure, it
kind
of
shows.
shows.
Luis, you want to talk about Grosjean a little bit, so I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Yeah, as you mentioned how Rossi kind of bended in the point to where he couldn't compete for the win. Grosjean took his time. Like, he started 13th, didn't make it to the Fast Six, and he struggled at qualifying quite a bit. But as the race went down, aside from Herta, when it comes to green flag pit stops, Grosjean was up in front, and then I think staying out in front for a little bit kind of helped him put him in a good track position because he has the car. He knows how to get around Laguna real quick compared to others. And as the laps winding down, he was setting laps nearly 2 seconds or more than 2 seconds quicker than Herta. And he was eating up that gap because he stayed out. He pitted much later, and he had much more fresher tires that he was able to do that. Then with 7 laps to go, as before we set up the 7 laps to go ordeal with the corkscrew, he passed Graham Rahal, he passed Pato O'Ward on the outside at different corners with relative ease. He set himself up for it, and then when it came to the corkscrew, trying to get by Palou's teammate Jimmy Johnson, who had his best career finish of 17th this past Sunday, try to get by because he knew that he can catch Palou, and maybe a good chance he might catch Herta. I'm not sure he would catch Herta, but he probably would have catch Palou. But as soon as he went to the corkscrew, he tangled with Johnson, lifted up the car, was able to get by, but it kind of cost him a few seconds, cost him a finishing second because of the vibration due to the contact. But when he got out of the car, he kind of embraced the moment, and kind of to the point that he kind of shed a tear or two and mentioned in the post-race conference that he's really embracing this role big time. And going into the finale, he's just 18 points behind Scott McLaughlin for Rookie of the Year honors, which I think he can get it done. It will take a podium and an underwhelming race for McLaughlin to get it done. I think.
Well, McLaughlin's had plenty of underwhelming races this season.
Yeah,
throwing that out there.
It's
yeah,
true.
but I mean,
no, it's true.
The thing that's really hurting Grosjean in the rookie battle is the fact that he
didn't run the 3 oval races.
Didn't do the 500, which was double points, and then he didn't do the 2 races in Texas.
I mean, if he'd
Yeah.
pretty much start and parked those races, he probably would have been leading the Rookie of the Season.
Yeah,
It would have been
yeah,
much
oh, yeah,
closer.
sure, yeah.
It
I
would have
mean,
been
it's
much-
all it is. I mean, it's no disrespect to McLaughlin, but you look at it. You're in a Penske car with all the backing of Penske, and again, no disrespect to Dale Coyne and Rick Ware, but they don't have the resources that Penske do. And yeah, I know Grosjean's a very experienced driver in the single seater, but to all intents and purposes, it should be a pretty much of a non-contest. And I don't know what and it's probably not the topic of the conversation right now, but I've been a little bit disappointed with McLaughlin this year. He started off well, didn't he? He had some good runs earlier in the season, but as it's gone on, it's been a bit. He's got lost during the race weekends.
Yeah,
I think Penske would benefit scaling back a car to boost McLaughlin a bit.
Well, that's their plan. That's their plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to send Simon packing. But yeah, I've been quite disappointed in McLaughlin. I expected a whole lot more. Like again, like you said, he had it was at Texas. He got
Texas, wasn't it? Yeah, Texas. He was competitive.
That was early in the season, and he just kind of been there. He hasn't been horrible. He hasn't been to where we're putting him in the same class as a Dalton Kellett or a Jimmy Johnson. But he hasn't set the world on fire at all. But
you could argue. You could say that about the whole Penske organization up to their levels of expectation. Now, Joseph still sort of, I think, technically got a chance at the championship, hasn't he? But in reality, it's not. But for Penske to turn around and say they're going into the final race of the season with 4 good, high-level drivers, none of them having a shot at the championship, must be I would say more than disappointing season. When was the last time Penske went into the final race of the season without a chance of winning the championship?
Well, technically they have a chance this year,
but a realistic chance, should we say?
Oh yeah, it's not realistic.
You have to go back to 12, maybe 2012.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
this is
2013 when Hunter Ray was champion around that time, and Dixon in 13.
Because most of those years when Dario was winning the championship, Will Power was always there or thereabouts and would screw up in the last race or something like that, to sort of deny him the championship. But it's been a really poor season, I think, from for Penske.
Been a poor couple seasons as well when you consider it all around. We talked about it last year with the 500. They were nowhere near the front, the Fast 9.
No. And
neither were this year, to my knowledge.
But you look at also outside of Herta's odd win, Andretti cars have been pretty poor as well. So it's, there's been a lot of these smaller teams. Look with VK winning, and some of these other guys coming through, getting race wins, and Grosjean being competitive. These smaller teams have really taken it to the big guys this year and sort of put them in their place a little bit. I think it's been great to see.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you're talking about a straight up changing of the guard season, because you're talking. Our championship rivals are 22 years old and 24 years old.
Yeah, McLaren are coming up, and
McLaren is coming up. Like you say, Carbon has won a race. Actually, if you look at the wins this year, there's nobody that's really dominated. Nobody has more than three wins.
The dominant car would usually lead. The one leads the most laps usually don't win.
Yeah.
Especially at the first half of the season, it was just if you were leading that late in the race, you're in trouble.
But it was interesting, again, we're sort of getting, away from, the summary of this weekend's race. Sorry. But Frank, it was interesting. I saw you'd commented on some of the Facebook posts from some of the IndyCar groups, and somebody made the point, which I've sort of tried to make a little bit, during the season on Colton Herta. If the championship had been decided in qualifying, he would have wrapped it up, quite comfortably by now. And I know the championship isn't decided on Saturday, but it's been quite telling that this guy is unbelievably fast, but he doesn't have enough weekends like he did at Laguna Seca. He was dominant there. I mean, I know that it was 2 or 3 seconds at the end of the race, and Pillow certainly wasn't going to throw one up the inside there. But that was a smart, mature drive. But for me, they've been too few and far between this season. And he's 21 now, 22, but it's still, he's been doing this sport for 3 or 4 years now. He's got to start executing the race weekends. And if he does, geez, that kid is going to dominate this series.
Yeah, imagine if Nashville would have gone different.
Yeah, Nashville.
Yeah, any of them.
He had Nashville in his back pocket and pissed it away.
Yeah.
He
pulled
his
the
own
center on
mistake
his
there.
didn't they?
There was no, he didn't need to push it that hard at all. He had Ericsson behind him with a bit of a wounded car. So, and I don't think there's any way Ericsson would have made the pass to begin with. So
no,
she should have just been taking an easy run, a reasonable lap time to run it to the end. But
basically do what Pato did to Newgarden in Detroit. Play it out.
If he had
just don't make contact. That's all.
Not even Pato. I mean, if he had, if Herta had Dixon's racecraft and maturity, God, it'd be a scary combination, wouldn't it?
Well, funny that you mentioned that, because even if you compare Palou to Award, right? Award does not have the racecraft that Palou does.
Yeah,
Palou has won 3 races this year, but he's consistently been near the top of the running order. He's got very few finishes outside the top 10.
Yeah,
but when you consider
Gateway, that's it.
Yeah, but when you consider who he's got to lean on for advice, he's got Scott 6-time Dixon, Dario.
Yeah, Dario's in the stable still.
4-time
Franchitti,
and then he's got Jimmy 7-time Johnson.
You also got Scott Pruitt also involved in the
I mean, so and who's Colton Herta got? He's got his dad, right?
Who he never listened to, because you know what? Everybody knows what a 21-year-old's relationship is with their dad. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
That's difference between Colton and Marco is that Colton has won multiple races in succession compared to Marco every 5 years and then stops.
Yeah.
Let's leave Marco alone.
Yeah, I know.
He exited quietly. But
at least he's won a race recently in SRX, so he's got something to celebrate about. So there's that.
But I wonder if Andretti's team would benefit from having a driver's coach. Like Penske's got Rick Mears, right? And of course Ganassi has Dario. There's a couple other guys that work with other teams. I think Buddy Rice works with Dry Reinbold, once a year in Indianapolis. But Andretti really doesn't have the driver's coach. I mean, you got sure you've got Brian Herta and Michael there, and and Mario's ever present there. Mario's
he
always
sticks his head in the shop door every now and again, doesn't he?
Sure he does. Yeah, Mario's always there. He's in all the team meetings and whatnot. But none of those people are charged with the strict role of just being the driver coach, which is what Rick Mears does, which is what Dario does. I don't know if that would help Andretti or not. But it's certainly a component that seems to have helped guys like Alex Palou. So there you go. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. No, you have a valid point, and I just saw recently had Newgarden didn't have that problem at Road America. That title would be much, much closer. Or if Palou won the 500, we would not even be talking about the championship right now. But that's just what if scenario more than anything else.
Certainly, yeah. But, I mean, Palou has a really easy path to win on the top. I think he needs to finish 11th, right?
Yeah, no matter what Pato does, 11th or better. Even if Pato scores max points, wins the pole, leading the middle left, do everything that he needs to do, Palou has to finish 11th or better.
So yeah, and Palou finishing 11th is, if you look at his record this year, like I say, he's rarely been out of the top 10. So he's got a pretty easy path. He just needs to make sure that he's careful, because Long Beach can be unforgiving, those tight straightaways and tight corners and the walls right there are very unforgiving. Long Beach has given the over the years, we've seen some of the finest drives in the world at Long Beach, but we've also seen some of the costliest mistakes also at Long Beach. So Palou just needs to just go in, play it smart, play it Dixon-esque, if you will.
Business as usual mentality.
Business as usual. Now Pato needs to win. Newgarden needs Pato and
Palou to have
an accident.
Lap one, turn one.
No, he needs to have them have an accident in their rental car on the way to the track and never start. So
yeah, or just get collecting another lap one, turn one madness, which also has been the theme of this season. I think more than half of the races have had lap one, turn one shenanigans. Which it did happen 2 years. It has happened a couple times.
It's happened a lot of times at Long Beach. Yeah, the first time they get to the hairpin, we see a little trouble. But then anyway, you could also make a case that Palou has never driven at Long Beach, right? So that could be seen as a disadvantage rather. But Palou never drove at Barber or Portland either, and he won both of those. But Barber and Portland are a little more what Palou is used to seeing in the National Train road courses. So, it's not a given for Palou at this moment, but he certainly has an easier path than Pato. Pato, he's got to tone it down and drive smart. Pato, as fast as he is, he's also occasionally reckless, burns up his tires, those sort of things. So it'll be interesting to watch how it plays out. But I mean, the smart money is on Palou winning this thing.
No, for sure. And should Pato win, you have to go back to 2002 to find the last IndyCar team to win the championship that wasn't Penske or Ganassi. And if you want to include Newman Haas, then you have to go back to 03 and car with Forsythe. So it's been a long time we see somebody different win the championship, but it's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of work, and some issues to happen to Palou for that to happen. And we've seen stuff happen in the fanatic, like Dixon running out of fuel at Chicagoland, Montoya get essentially turned by his teammate and lost in the tiebreaker after leading the whole trail from start to finish until the Sonoma finale 15. We've seen stuff happen to where everything is at the palm of the driver's hands and then just lose it at the end for weird circumstances. So there's no guarantees, but it's gonna take a lot for Pato. I think if he wins the race, I think that's probably the best thing he could do.
That's everything he can do.
But you got to beat Rossi as long as the luck that he's had the past 2 years doesn't come into the equation. Because I still think you got to get through Rossi first. But that we're talking about 2019 till now. A lot has changed since 2019. And also we're talking about conditions being a little bit different because we're talking about spring, April. We're talking about deep September to kickstart of fall rather than mid-spring. And the temperatures are still going to be in the high 70s. So there's not going to be wild weather. It's going to be clear skies. But I would imagine the conditions would be a little bit different. I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a California guy, but know that they have less temperature change than we do, farther north. But suffice to say, it's September is going to be different than running in the spring. But even if Pato doesn't win this one, I think that both Pato and Arrow McLaren have an IndyCar championship in their future very soon.
No, for sure. With McLaren's large involvement next season and beyond, also helps.
And Arrow's re-upped with their money. But when they took over Schmidt-Peterson, they took over a pretty good team.
Yeah,
they didn't grab the bottom feeder team. They were a good mid-pack team, good for a win here and there every now and again. So the pieces were in place to just build, put a little more structure in there, a little more resources. And I think they're going to be, they're going to, I think right now they're leapfrogged over Andretti. They're really doing a little better than Penske right now as well. So you've got to consider there's no more big three. It's either a big four, or if it's a big three, maybe Andretti's dropped off at a big three.
Oh yeah, I think we're expanding more to like more parity. We've seen the parity, but we're going to see more in the championship battle rather than just one or two races. And either way, you can't look down. It has been a disappointing season. Of course, the expectations have grown exponentially. But either way, I viewed it from a Hispanic point of view. This is a big deal because we have not seen a Hispanic win. The Spanish-speaking driver win a championship in American open wheel racing, to my knowledge. We've never seen that before. We've seen drivers from Brazil one time, but never somebody that's primarily spoken Spanish. So it'd be neat to see somebody from Spain or Mexico get it done. So that would
What's
be
the national language of Colombia?
Oh yeah,
I was gonna say,
thank you,
yeah,
Montoya. It all goes back to Montoya. I should know this, but we're talking about
I'm just giving you.
His. Well, Colombia could be considered Hispanic too, so you have a valid point. So, yeah, since
I don't
Montoya,
know if they genuinely. I don't know if they speak Portuguese or not, or
I don't think Colombia speaks.
No.
Portuguese.
Colombia speaks Spanish.
Yeah.
No, but I thought Pato O'Ward was Irish. But
well, yeah, Formula 2 classified Pato as U.S. driver rather than Mexico one day because
actually Pato has dual citizenship.
Yeah,
he's classified as a Mexican American. He's born in Monterey, Mexico. He
Texan as well.
Yeah, but he pretty much grew up in Texas. But he identifies himself as a driver from Mexico, and he's quite proud of that. He's very, very proud of the fact that he's from Mexico. But he actually holds dual citizenship.
Yeah, and the Pato's team, and as far as the media side of things, have done a fantastic job to distribute the races down in Mexico for those to watch as well, which I think they've expanded as well going into 2022 because they were kind of like Pato TV or however it's called. They were
Pato TV they call it. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, they're kind of testing the waters of streaming distribution on an international level, so it's good to see them expand. Because I think it's key to expand the international audience. After a couple years ago, they kind of hosed them. The sanctioning body kind of hosed them.
Yes, they did. Yeah, I know there were a lot of Canadians that were upset with the coverage they had available, and I think that in South America as well, and then I think they put it on in Europe. They put it on Sky Sports, but it was a paid subscription to get it. So.
That's how people found out about Will Power's comments in Belle Isle. That was the first somebody on Twitter posted it from Europe. That's how we were able to hear his remarks.
Yeah.
So they get something we don't.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of, since we're talking about the television deals and whatnot, so IndyCar has announced their 2022 schedule.
Yep.
Along with what races will be on what network. And it turned out that it's actually a tiny bit better than originally planned. And there were supposed to be 2 races that were only on Peacock, but there's only one.
And that's the lone international race.
Well, Toronto.
Yep.
But most of the races are on NBC. There's 2 races on the USA, and the USA it's in a lot of households. It's really, it's on most basic cable tier packages.
Yeah, it's been a while since USA has hosted a race. Not counting 2016, you had to go back to the 1980s to find a race on USA Network when they used to have a sports division. As far as before Fox Sports, it used to be USA Sports, but that's a whole different animal. But no, 14 races on the Big Boy Network. The question, is a big deal. You have essentially the big races all at NBC. Qualifying for the 500 will be on NBC as well. So this is a huge step in the right direction to have essentially almost the whole year on the national network to boost the audience and then build the momentum.
Right, and you've got every practice and qualifying session on Peacock. And Peacock, it's $6 a month, and you get all that plus thousands of hours of other programming. I mean, I watched all 46 seasons of Saturday Night Live, rewatched them all on Peacock, So, I mean, there's a lot of other good stuff on there as well. So stuff for your whole family. So I just don't get the people that are upset about a race being only on Peacock because I refuse to pay for a streaming service. I'm like, dude, join the 21st century. Come with us. And there are more and more sports that are going to exclusively streaming because the network executive they want to push that. They want to push subscriptions for their streaming thing. So this is kind of, it's kind of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. we'll get you all these network races, but give us one that's only on Peacock. So we can, maybe push our subscriptions to Peacock, because that's the wave of the future, streaming television. Despite what any of these old boomers will tell you, that everything should be free. And I'm like, just stop.
The biggest challenge I think they've got is how to consolidate them all into one. Because we've got that, we've got streaming services at home, and you've got Netflix, you've got Amazon Prime, you've got HBO, you've got Peacock, you've got all these things. They're all in their own app, and to go, it's very like clunky and disjointed. And if somebody could sort of work out a way to sort of draw them all together into a method of making it efficient, I think it'd be an amazing solution. But
don't you have Roku?
You have Roku, Tubi.
Roku.
But it's still
I just download all my apps on a Roku. So all I got to do is turn on my Roku, and they're all right there, just like which channel I want. It's no different than it's no different than going to your television and select what channel you want to watch. Yeah,
it's just a little bit clunky. But anyway, maybe I'm a perfectionist when it comes to human. I do a lot of work with human interaction stuff, and it's still human to machine interaction, and compared to a lot of systems out there, it's not as efficient.
It's really amazing how many people don't get it. That people say, I can't find the IndyCar race. We'll go to the top bar, scroll over to sports, and once you hit sports, there's a whole thing that says IndyCar series. But they can't figure out that. Just clicking around.
If you're going through Xfinity, double check if they still have that 2005 Indy 500 photo of Sebastian Bourdais at the background with the IndyCar logo. No, seriously, for many years they still had that 05 Indy 500 photo of Bourdais' car navigating through Indy as the backdrop photo.
Hey, it's not a bad photo. All right, so.
But yeah, real quick about the new schedule, real quick. Belle Isle's now one race.
Right, not a doubleheader. Mm-hmm.
Iowa is the doubleheader, which has already been announced. St. Pete will kick off the season exactly a week after the Daytona 500, colliding with Fontana, which is the earliest the start of the season since 2004 for IndyCar. Texas is now round 2 in March, rather than it's been, or this year in May, or in previous years in June, with the exception of 2016, it ended in August because of the rain and the 24-hour Le Mans. The big conflict the big criticism I see from the calendar is that I think 6 of the races clashes with IMSA. As many people know, a lot of the IndyCar folks work with the IMSA folks as well. You have Vassar Sullivan, Ganassi, to name a few. You have several people that not just work at IndyCar, but also work in the IMSA programs as well. So there's a lot of conflicts that could clash a lot of drivers' ability to run IMSA, or teams working 2 disciplines in the same time. That's like the main criticism that's come around, which is understandable. But overall, as usual, it's nice to have Iowa back. It's a shame they couldn't get Richmond back when they were supposed to, but the pandemic kind of hurt the odds at Richmond. Laguna is back to the finale. And Portland is the penultimate round. Of my knowledge, it goes back to Labor Day weekend, which honestly, it belongs to Labor Day weekend. Why not build something up as a tradition and build on it, in my opinion? Those are my 2 cents on the calendar. But yeah, one more race to go at Long Beach. It should be interesting. It's been quite the unique year that you can look back and say a lot of what is and a lot of breakthrough stories. I'd be curious to see how the championship trail will be decided, and also if Rookie of the Year will favor Grosjean. I think despite missing 3 races, it may help and may be as impressive to get it done despite missing races.
Oh, I think it'd be a huge achievement for him, and I think here, we've sort of spoke a little bit about the disappointment of the performance of some of those Penske guys, and McLaughlin, I say, he had a good start to the year and a couple of good runs in Texas and places like that, but past that, he's been reasonably disappointing and sort of pretty nondescript during a lot of the races, and he gets lost out there. And for Grosjean to have missed 3 races, well, which you can argue it's 4 in a way because the double points at the 500. It's incredible, really, and shows and for the team as well. relatively small team compared to what you'd consider Penske to be. It's a huge achievement for him. And if he does do those ovals next year and he does go to Andretti as expected, I don't know if that's been confirmed yet or if it's still just strongly rumored. Grosjean, maybe not next year, but once he's got a year under his belt at the oval and Andretti can maybe get their ducks in a row, he could be a serious contender for the title. I don't know if you'd give him an average finish in those 3 races that he'd missed. I don't know where that would put him. Where he'd wash out in the championship, but he'd be in the top 10. I would have thought.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, even if you look at the fact that when he was at Gateway, he performed pretty darn well. So you gotta figure, he might not have been too much a slouch at Texas and Indy.
Yeah.
No,
I think he would have been
Texas
just
is a bit
fine.
of a unique event, isn't it? I think.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunate for that 51 team, Pietro didn't get a chance to run because he got collected in that opening start wreck that saw Daly upside down. But yeah, and the thing is, this is the second straight year in a row the Dale Coyne car have shined through with the driver. Well, Grosjean was more established with Palou a year ago when he was with Coyne. It was kind of like the virtual unknown, and now he's basically a sensation to the point he may win the championship in the sophomore season. I'd be curious to know how they maybe some people will view Dale Coyne as the guy that's finding hidden gems. Because this is a hidden gem if there ever was one.
I was going to say, Coyne's kind of had that reputation for a while. Yeah, I mean.
More so now that one of their drivers is going to win a championship. But also you got to credit Roger Jessica.
I was going to say, Coyne's been around a long time. And
you get what
some of the guys he's given
a Coyne graduate getting a top-level ride and winning championships.
Yeah, so Paul Tracy doesn't count?
Oh,
okay.
But Paul, here's the thing. Paul took a while, but we're talking about, let me rephrase it, instantaneously goes through a top-level team and wins championship. Paul was in the mix in 93, but didn't win a championship until a decade later. Talk about short term.
All right.
Sorry about that, but it kind of further showcases Coyne's eye on talent. Sure, it also did it. Also credit to Roger Yasukawa as well from the Team Go program as well to get Palou where he is as well. Which I'm surprised they just recently attributed Yasukawa into this, who's been kind of essentially Palou's mentor in his young racing career so far.
Now, is Roger involved with the effort with Ganassi at all, or? I
think it mostly just kind of mentoring Palou.
Okay, all right.
Dating back to Team Go and the Super GT stuff in Japan.
Right, and Team Go was a part owner of the Coyne entry. That part ownership went to
Rick Ware this year.
Rick Ware. Then of course you got Vassar Sullivan in there.
But they've been there for a while now.
Yeah, and there's some strong rumors that Vassar Sullivan, beginning in like 2023, are going to look to break away from Dale Coyne and go on their own. Which would be good for them. They ran their own team for a while. Vassar Sullivan, previously HVM, whatnot. So that would actually put another car on the grid. And I think, Jimmy Vassar, guy I have a lot of respect for, but I think he's pretty sharp as a team owner and whatnot. As long as he has some good funding and whatnot, it would be good to see him back on the grid with his own team, in the upcoming years. Anyway, so we probably got to leave enough time to talk about all that brawling that went on in Tennessee. But before we step away from IndyCar, let's make our picks for Long Beach winner and series champion. So, Richard, I'll start with you.
We've been talking about, I think Grosjean will get the race done. I think it's this track that will suit his driving style. And I mean, I don't think you can look past Palou for the championship, really, can you? I'm sure I'm not taking anybody's pick there.
Yeah. All right. So, Louise,
I think we can share that one.
We're gonna have to. Yep.
I have to share that one too for Palou. I think he still gets it done as far as the race win. I feel like this. I think my odds is saying it could come down to, of course, Rossi, but maybe I wouldn't count Graham Rahal out. That's my bold prediction. One more bold prediction for the year. Graham Rahal redeems himself from that block that cost him a podium, but redeems himself 2 years later to get it done and wins the Long Beach and ends that long winless streak. It caps up a really good West Coast swing because he's been competitive these past couple of weeks, and I think this one he'll show it a lot more.
Okay, good enough then. So you left me Rossi. I really don't want to look past Rossi for the win unless he, throws it away himself. And of course, I think you can't really go against Palou for the championship. It's going to be interesting to see if Ward can actually make a fight of it, or if we're going to just be, need something to happen to Palou. But there you go. So anyway, NASCAR was down in Bristol. They've gotten all that dirt off of the place that they had last time we were there. They've cleaned all that up very nicely. So now we're back to a proper Bristol track, the Bristol night race. And my gosh, these races, the Xfinity and the Cup race, I didn't have a chance to see the truck race, look like the Bristol of old, where we had some good beating and banging and a pretty good show and a pretty good crowd. So, Louise, what do you think about the Kyle Larson's victory there in Bristol while there's a little melee behind him with Harvick and Elliott?
Oh, yeah, Kyle Larson won the race. That's simple. That's
number six on the season. Yep.
Yeah, it's like all of that Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick thing was going on with Jordan Bianchi trying to get some of the action. Nate Ryan also got something. I don't even know if Bob ever released his version. I don't think he did. But yeah, Kyle Larson won the race in the Valvoline car. So people, let's remember that. But Kyle made a phenomenal save because it did look like Harvick was trying to dump Larson as well, or move him out of the way to the point it would have wrecked him and probably could have wrecked Harvick. Who knows? But huge win for Larson. It further proves my bold prediction being wrong. Not only he wins in the round, he already had clinched the spot a week prior, so big win for him. But as far as Larson Harvick, the Harvick of old came back for one night, 2002, 2003. Kevin Harvick, if you all remember, he would say stuff that is violent. He would swear and take no crap from anybody, unless your name is Ricky Rudd, who actually threw a water bottle at him. Or, well, yeah, the old Harvick kind of came back. The only thing, that big criticism I have is like that Harvick's manager should have just stayed his own lane, let Elliott and Harvick talk, which fortunately they were eventually able to do. And the hauler took them long enough when they realized that people were recording this stuff. It's like, yeah, they should have. It was just pure comedy, in my opinion. And all of that was how people are going to forget this. How it all began is that Elliott moved Josh Bilicki out of the way because he was a lap car. So you got to move him out of the way. That gave Harvick the opening, and then Elliott Harvick tangle, and that's kind of what hurt Elliott the race. But people kind of forget that the bump of Bilicki kind of kickstarted the whole thing, in my opinion. So we'll see if Harvick bounces back and see if this rivalry boils, because sometimes just one race and then it's like nothing happens. Or unless you're Matt Kenseth, you'll never forget, or Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano to kind of boil over to the championship deciding battle at Homestead. We actually saw them battle for the championship rather than just like, oh, this thing happened in Martinsville and that's it. Because the question is long term, and we're going to see it continue. I always say that about these feuds and rivalries. Will it continue, or is it just a one-off thing? Elliott doesn't forget. Look back at when the whole thing with Hamlin in 2017, he's not going to forget. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. And if it comes down to Martinsville, where Elliott and Harvick are still looking to get a championship 4 spot, and it comes down to those two, I'm pretty sure Elliott's not going to forget.
Yeah, I mean,
or Harvick.
I was going to say Harvick is always known to be a little bit of a hothead, and he's always seemed to be, whenever there's a little controversy, Harvick, even if he's not involved, finds a way to stick himself in the middle of it. So,
But his post-race interview was the Harvick of 0203, which we haven't seen in a while.
Exactly, yeah. And Chase Elliott, I think for him, it's a respect thing, where I think he felt like Harvick was lecturing him, and then that's where it comes. I don't care how long you've been doing this. I think that was the quote to come out of. I don't care how long you've been doing this. You don't drive like that or whatever the heck it was. But I mean, it makes for good television. It makes for good conversation on social media. The rest of the week, and it makes for adding to the Bristol lore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where we have these bang 'em up finishes at Bristol that we haven't seen in a while. You know what I mean? And speaking of which, the Xfinity race had an equally thrilling finish.
It hurt colleague racing a bit, hurt them in their pockets because yes, AJ Allmendinger won, but the car was destroyed. And on top of that, when he went back across the track, who hit him? His teammate Justin Haley. So you got two wrecked race cars from colleague. Sindri's car is destroyed as well, and you had a couple others like Maya Snyder's was destroyed. The door was ripped off, was peeled. Thrilling finish, but at what cost? It seems like it was a subdued victory because he celebrated and he went straight to the care center. They couldn't bring the car to victory lane because they decided to do the inspection process. So yeah, a subdued victory, and it would be curious to say. I say to myself, this was for the regular season championship because it came down to 1 point. They swapped back and forth at the very end, and Allmendinger won the regular season title, gets the 15 playoff points, and now they're entering at Las Vegas to kickstart the Xfinity playoffs tied on points because they have the equal amount of playoff points as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Allmendinger is the regular season champion, which, as we all know, doesn't really count for much other than going into as the number one seed. The
only thing is like I really hope those two battle it out to the bitter end in Phoenix, and it hopefully comes down to those two guys because they've been the class of the field all year long.
Oh, they sure have, and I think that through the Xfinity playoffs, we'll see that as well.
Because if Allmendinger were to win, and not only, I look back to 2007 to where his NASCAR career could have been over until Chip Ganassi gave him an opportunity to run those couple Busch races, and he actually developed, but I still attribute Ganassi as the reason why Allmendinger is still around. Because without that opportunity, 2007, I don't think he would have lasted at all.
How old is Allmendinger these days, man? He's been around for a minute. I remember he
pushing 40. I
was gonna say he was winning some IndyCar races in the Champ Car era, or even prior to that, really.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that team.
Yeah, he's 39.
Rousport. Yeah, he was with Rousport.
Rousport, yeah. But then he won a couple races with Forsyth.
Yeah, won all of his races at Forsyth, and almost all of them in a row.
Yeah, he won like three. Yeah, ripped off three in a row, three. Then three in pretty quick succession. Yeah,
was able to cut Bourdais' championship lead, and then they sent him off to NASCAR, and Bourdais kind of waltzed his way to a championship. But yeah, well, that's the difference. But I think Bourdais already had the edge on Allmendinger at that point, so it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't matter anyway if Allmendinger ran the last bit to finish out his deal with Forsyth.
Yeah, I mean that's all old history, but I mean, AJ has had such a up and down career. You know what I mean?
So some people feel like he should go cup racing at 22 because that's 16. The second collie car must run the whole season because they have a charter. Allmendinger's only running a partial schedule in that 16, so they have to find drivers to fill up the season. But some people say Allmendinger should just go to cup racing. I think he could do it. But
I have no doubt he could do it. I don't know if.
But we're dealing with a new car and.
Sure, yeah, but I mean, who do you want a new car other than a guy with a lot of experience?
True, but it's just a matter of what Allmendinger wants and what's best for the team. But I feel like 2021 is going to be that Xfinity Championship is going to be really fun because it's going to come naturally. 22 is obviously it's going to probably be Allmendinger, Josh Berry, and Ty Gibbs for 22. But we got to enjoy it for what it's worth in 21 because we're talking about two guys that's been strong all year long and battling, and there's some tension between those two, Cindric and Allmendinger.
Yeah, and Cindric, to his point, he's got nothing to lose. He's already got one Xfinity championship in the bank. He's got a pretty good cup ride lined up for next year. So, he's got nothing to lose here and nothing to prove, really. Allmendinger, on the other hand, I mean, a guy who's not won a championship yet, this could be huge for him. And it could vault him into the full-time cup, like you say. So, yeah, it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, right now it's a part-time cup deal. Who's to say some people would love to see him run cup full-time, but even some reporters out there that feel like he can get it done. Because the car may suit Allmendinger's style and also with the road courses as well. Don't cut him out.
Who counts out Allmendinger on a road course? Nobody. Stop it, Louise.
That's true. I know, but when you have reliability problems, like he should have won Sonoma 2018, could have won it, but something broke in the car that denied him. It's just a matter of luck in the Cup Series, And when he had luck, he actually did get a win out of it this year at Indy.
Yeah, he sure did. It was a big win too. So anyway, where are we off to next?
Vegas.
All right, so.
Which Allmendinger won the last time they were there in the Xfinity level.
Right. So I'm talking about the Cup level now. So we got.
But
so let's talk about.
Vegas.
Did we talk about who we sent home? Because Bristol was elimination round.
No, we haven't.
Michael McDowell, Eric Amarola, Kurt Busch, and
Tyler Reddick.
went home. Well, they didn't go home. They'll still be at the race next week.
So yeah, Ganassi
eliminated from championship contention.
Yeah, but that means that's the end of the Ganassi Sapco lineage. They will go without a championship, which a couple times they could have with Kyle Petty and Sterling Marlin, but they never were able to get it done.
No, but at the end of the day, they're transferring over to Trackhouse.
Yeah, the entity Kurt goes to 2311.
Right, and then Chastain is going with Trackhouse, right?
Yep.
So we'll see what's next for that team. Hopefully, Justin and his folks at Trackhouse there will be able to put the resources in that car. That's always been a pretty good. It's always been a pretty good car, just never a championship contender.
Yeah.
Even back to the Felix Sabates days when Kyle Petty was running the Days of Thunder delivery.
Yeah, when he ruled Rockingham.
Yeah.
Which people tend to forget, he ruled Rockingham for a cup of coffee, and if they didn't get rid of Rockingham in the schedule, who's to say McMurray could have ruled that track too in the Haviland car? Because McMurray was a monster in Rockingham in the Busch Series, even the couple times he ran in the Cup level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're going into Vegas.
Yep.
Who do you like for Vegas?
I think you're going to look no further than the guy who won there in the spring, Kyle Larson. But I'll keep an eye on Denny Hamlin. That's going to be my pick.
All right. And Richard?
Let's go with Harvick. He's got his mojo back.
Harvick desperately needs to win this season. It's hard to believe the guy who won, 9 races last year?
Hasn't won at all.
Has been shut out of victory lane the whole season long. Yeah. So Vegas, I like Brad Keselowski. He's got had a couple good runs at Vegas over the last several years, and he really needs to go ahead and stake a claim here to avoid elimination because he's just been kind of middle of the road for a while. And,
I think both Logano and Keselowski need it. Blaney should be fine this round. Keselowski and Logano, I'm not confident.
Yeah,
but a good run for
they're
Vegas
kind of close to the
help.
bubble. Yeah, good run at Vegas will help. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Brad there. So anyway, so Vegas coming up next weekend, and Richard, Formula One, we are off to Sochi.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, Russian Riviera.
It's gonna rain, hopefully.
Is it? Ooh.
I'm-
Nah, probably not. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Hopefully not as bad as it was at Spa. But
I hope not. I won't be there
Yeah.
to see it, honestly, because I'll be at Long
So-
Beach probably on the way there.
Oh, that's if it's, I mean, East Coast or West Coast, it's a 5 a.m. start on Sunday. So yeah, set your alarms for you guys on the West Coast there. But 8 a.m. on the East Coast. Let's give it a little public service announcement. There we go. But no, it's a there's one of these modern Tilke Dome sort of street courses, but it's not really a street. Barriers everywhere, minimal runoff, couple of half decent corners. There's that turn 3, that big sweeping sort of parabolic style corner. Then there's one later in the lap that's sort of a left hand kink and a hard, heavy braking right hand corner. Remember Carlos Sainz having a big moment there a few years ago where he hit the barriers pretty hard. But
Let's see.
About,
We'll hope the F2 race goes smoothly, unlike last year. That one
they
ended in a
tend to
nasty
have,
shunt.
Yeah, they tend to have some. The F2 guys. It's one of the longest runs down to the first corner in Formula One now, Sochi, and it's a sort of a really good passing point. But then also it's a really good opportunity for to go a little bit messy. We all remember Danica Kvyat driving into the back of Sebastian Vettel a few years ago. And yeah, as you say, the Formula 2 race there, last time we were there, a couple of guys got tangled in that turn 3, that big sweeping corner there, and ended up well buried in the Tech Pro barriers. And one of the cars actually caught fire. But it has its moments and has its opportunities for some good racing there. But it's we often talk about some specific tracks being specific drivers' playgrounds, and Sochi really is Valtteri Bottas's personal playground since he's been at Mercedes. Even when he was at Williams, he was pretty competitive around there. I mean, 2016 he should have been on the podium until Kimi took him out there on the last lap. But it's you'd expect Valtteri to be strong there again this year. Really pushing Lewis and Max. If he's in the fight there, then it really does put a lot of pressure on Sergio Perez to match him really and push to the same extent and try and get in there and force Mercedes' hands when it comes to strategy calls. But it should be a good race. Should be a really good race out there, and hopefully some of the politics that we've seen floating around in sport in Russia recently won't come into the mix too much. But it should be a good race. And if we're doing our picks for that now, I'm going to throw Valtteri's name into the ring.
All right, so you Valtteri Bottas for you, Louise. Who do you like?
Mercedes stays undefeated in Russia. That's lasted over a century. So Hamilton, because he picked Valtteri.
Okay, so that gives me Max Verstappen, who's won the most races this year. So don't count him out. But anyway, we are just about out of time. So I want to thank you, Richard. I want to thank you, Louise. I want to thank the Hoobazoo Radio Network, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. And I want to thank you folks that listen to us week in and week out. But until next week, good night.
WHOOBAZOO, that's Hoobazoo.com.
Enter website, enter website, enter website, enter website.